Chapter 40. Obedience versus Abomination. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verses 20 to 32. When the Lord thy God shall enlarge thy border, as he hath promised thee, and thou shalt say, I will eat flesh, because thy soul longeth to eat flesh, thou mayest eat flesh, whatsoever thy soul lusteth after. If the place which the Lord thy God hath chosen to put his name there be too far from thee, then thou shalt kill of thy herd and of thy flock, which the Lord hath given thee, as I have commanded thee, thou shalt eat in thy gates, whatsoever thy soul lusteth after. Even as the roebuck and the hart is eaten, so thou shalt eat them. The unclean and the clean shall eat of them alike. Only be sure that thou eat not the blood, for the blood is the life, and thou mayest not eat the life with the flesh. Thou shalt not eat it, thou shalt pour it upon the earth as water. Thou shalt not eat it, that it may go well with thee, and with thy children after thee, when thou shalt do that which is right in the sight of the Lord. Only the holy things which thou hast, and thy vows, thou shalt take, and go unto the place which the Lord shall choose. And thou shalt offer thy burnt offerings, the flesh and the blood, upon the altar of the Lord thy God. And the blood of thy sacrifices shall be poured out upon the altar of the Lord thy God, and thou shalt eat the flesh. Observe and hear all these words which I command thee, that it may go well with thee, and with thy children after thee forever, when thou doest that which is good and right in the sight of the Lord thy God. When the Lord thy God shall cut off the nations from before thee, whither thou goest to possess them, and thou succeedest them, and dwellest in their land, take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them, after that they be destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, How did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. Thou shalt not do so unto the Lord thy God, for every abomination to the Lord, which he hateth, have they done unto their gods, for even their sons and their daughters they have burnt in the fire to their gods. What thing soever I command you, observe to do it. Thou shalt not add thereunto, nor diminish from it. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verses 20 to 32. It is routinely assumed that verses 20 to 28 simply repeat the preceding section, but this is a mistake. Verses 20 to 28 precede verses 29 to 32, and Deuteronomy 13 verses 1 to 18. Laws against assimilating the cults of Canaan with the worship of their covenant God. These substantially dietary rules of verses 20 to 28 precede the laws banning syncretism and apostasy. The dietary rules are not hard commandments. If men cannot obey God in the small things, they will not be ready to obey him in the great things of life. During the 40 years in the wilderness, the nation was thoroughly centralized. During most of that time, once the sanctuary was erected, the tribes or clans were stationed around it, so that an unusual closeness existed one with another. On top of that, all were under the eyes of Moses, so that sins were more readily detected. Decentralization would make for greater freedom, but also provided more opportunities for sinning without priestly detection. In the days of centralization, verses 20 to 28, all clean farm animals were taken to the sanctuary to be slaughtered there. They were therefore properly bled and butchered. With decentralization, it would be easy to violate the ban on the eating of blood, of fat, and of organs which were to be avoided. There was an unconditional permission now to eat clean meats without taking them to the altar. The people were now on their own to govern themselves by God's law. Their contacts with other men and with central authorities were now limited. With these rules, we begin to understand a basic aspect of Deuteronomy. It tells the covenant families that their covenant life will be a decentralized one, and the families must function as the working, everyday unit of law. The people are reminded again that blood means life, and they must treat life with respect. Even when taking life legally for food, the blood must be treated with respect. It must be poured upon the earth and covered over, verses 23 and 24. The earth is the Lord's, and all things therein, and nothing can be used apart from His rules and commandments. No hardship is imposed by the law, and this makes disobedience and contempt for it all the more serious. Animals fit for sacrifice may now be eaten apart from the sanctuary when the purpose is not sacrificial, and also clean, non-sacrificial animals. Verse 22. There is apparently some awareness of the meaning of the prohibition of blood eating among pagan peoples because they readily practice it as a means of gaining life. At present, in Africa, it has become a means whereby blood drinkers are acquiring AIDS. In verse 25, happiness, well-being, and favour from God go with obedience to the prohibition against blood as food. Very clearly, God regards this as a serious matter. Again, in verses 27 and 28, the matter is stressed. There is a correlation between obedience here and doing that which is good and right in the sight of the Lord thy God. Verse 28. It is very curious that J.A. Thompson, who sees no application here of any rule for Christians, could write still. Obedience to God's commands in these matters is a principal prerequisite of blessing. The comment is that it will go well with Israel and her descendants when she does what is good and right in the sight of Yahweh. It is baffling to see an able scholar write so clearly, and yet without seeing that God does not change. Verses 29 to 32 follow these laws under a warning. They had already been ordered, in verses 2 and 3, to destroy the fertility cult symbols, shrines and sacred areas of Canaanites and other pagan forms of worship. They were to clear the land of all traces of these pornographic cults and to avoid the mental and social influences of them. In verse 30, Israel is warned specifically against establishing any kind of continuity with pagan practices under the illusion that the land required it. They should not say, "How did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise." There had to be a radical break. God cannot be worshipped in any way not specified by Him. In all essential matters, His law is determinative. Therefore, what things soever I command you, observe to do it. Thou shalt not add thereto, nor diminish from it. Verse 32. This requirement cannot be trivialized as some would do. We are not required to have on the clothing of biblical times when we worship the Lord, nor must we abolish electric lights in favour of candles. Too much of the Church's time is given to disputes over like trivialities. Fools and knaves try to gain a pretense of holiness by haggling over trifles, as though their consciences are more sensitive and holy. We are told in Proverbs, "Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him." Proverbs chapter 26, verse 4. Let a bear robbed of her whelps meet a man, rather than a fool in his folly. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 12. A church without authority becomes plagued with fools. The term used in verse 31 is abomination. This is a rarely used word today, and its use is essentially biblical. Even the churches usually avoid it. It means, in the Hebrew, something disgusting in a moral sense, and it is often applied to idols and idolatry. The English word abomination translates 4 Hebrew words which are used for human sacrifices, sexual sins, and false weights and measures. In every religious case, an abomination is something offensive to God because it is a serious violation of His fundamental order. The word abomination is also used for the fact that the Hebrews and other aliens were repulsive to the Egyptians who would not eat with them. Genesis chapter 43, verse 32. It covered things repulsive and detestable. We have one kind of abomination specified in verse 31. For even their sons and their daughters they have burnt in the fire to their gods. Certainly, the current practice of abortion and the harvesting of the body parts for a variety of medical and commercial uses is an abomination. The sacrifices of children in antiquity were limited usually to emergency occasions, whereas abortion now occurs in the millions annually. The sacrifice of children is noted as occurring in the reigns of Ahaz and Manasseh. 2 Kings chapter 16 verse 3, chapter 21 verse 6. It was abolished by Josiah, 2 Kings chapter 23 verse 10, but it reappeared before the captivity. Jeremiah chapter 7 verse 31, chapter 19 verse 5, chapter 32 verse 35. It was not a practice of primitive worship, nor did it exist in the earlier years of Hebrew life. It came in with the, quote, advanced, end quote, Hebrew civilization, even as abortion on a mass scale has now. Such practices are not a product of primitivism, but of sin. As we have seen, Moses here speaks of the soon-to-come radical decentralization of Hebrew life. It has become common in history for men to see the solution to societal problems in centralization and centralized controls. The result is tyranny. It does not mean that decentralization gives an answer. It has a potential for good, but it can lead also to anarchy. The stress on Levites, which precedes this section, is related to it. If they are taught by the Levites, and if they hearken unto their voice, they can have a godly and happy society. They must not forsake the Levite, verse 19, for the abominations of the Canaanites, verses 29 to 32. God's Levites had to be honoured, and their teachings obeyed. Their source of unity could not be in centralization, but in God the Lord.